So let's talk about the fourth major piece that causes a lot of pain in terms of healing from a breakup. And this is what I refer to as our golden shadow. Now, the golden shadow is actually pulled from traditional shadow work. And the concept behind a golden shadow is that we can infatuate with people and we can put them on this big pedestal in our minds because they have traits that our subconscious mind perceives we don't have as much of, or perceives that we don't really have much of at all, and tries to complete us by bringing that person close to us and connected to us in our lives, and in a sense, fill in the holes of where those qualities or traits are in our subconscious mind perception of our own personality. Okay? So you can think of it this way. It's the shadow part of yourself, the disowned part of yourself that you put on a pedestal somewhere else. So just some really clear examples of this can be things like, you think somebody's really smart and you're not recognizing your own intelligence because maybe you've been conditioned subconsciously to look at intelligence in a linear form or in one form, right? There's a beautiful quote by Einstein, and he says, if you judge a fish's intelligence by its ability to climb a tree, the fish will live its whole life thinking it is stupid. And it's this concept, right, of like, sometimes we can go, oh, that person's really smart with numbers and with math and science, but maybe you're extremely smart creatively, or the type of work that you do, or the type of advice that you offer. And maybe because we've been traditionally conditioned to a certain degree by the school system to go, people who are really into math and science, they're the really clever ones. So maybe you infatuate with somebody's intelligence in that area, but it's actually a representation of the shadow part of yourself where you are not taking full ownership of your intelligence. So you attach to these qualities and you perceive to a certain degree that they're making you whole through your connection through them or to them through somebody else. And then when that splits off, you're like, my wholeness is being pulled away. And there can be this like subconscious identity crisis that's taking place. But this is kind of a beautiful thing in this strange way because it's asking you to recognize those traits that you think that you're missing and fill in those holes yourself, to bring your own personality back to a state of wholeness. And sometimes we don't recognize traits in ourselves because we're looking at them through a different lens, or looking at them through, intelligence is only in this type of area. We're not looking at our intelligence in our specific area. Or maybe we're looking at people's creativity. We're so infatuated with somebody's creativity in their painting and in their art, but maybe we're not recognizing our beautiful creativity in terms of our ability to generate ideas or concepts or inventions. And so sometimes we disown our traits, we sort of infatuate with them in somebody else, and then that splitting, that detachment is a big piece of our pain. So this is your opportunity to color back in the lines of who you are instead of trying to make yourself whole through another person. So what do we do with this when we're trying to heal this? Number one, you make a list of traits or qualities that you were infatuating with in another person. So those things that you were obsessed with, so excited by, just thought were the most amazing thing. And I want you to write out all of those different pieces in the relationship to yourself, okay? So was this person really smart? Were they great with their boundaries? Were they blunt and you thought that was really strong and powerful? Were they humorous and they made you laugh, okay? And what I want you to be able to do is sit down and you're going to look for how I already have these traits in a way that I recognize, and this is in the first column of your workbook there. And in a second column, you're going to look through the 7 areas of your life, friends, family members, in terms of relationships, colleagues even, and then you're going to look through, so relationships, career, financial, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. You're going to look in all these areas and you're going to look for who in my life also saw these traits in me, who also recognized these things in me, because maybe you're not funny in your workplace because you're more serious, but maybe you make your friends and family laugh at home, and maybe you are observing and thinking, oh, that person is so humorous, but you know what, maybe I have humor as well, and I have to own these qualities within myself. So what I really want you to do is go through and see how you also have access to express these qualities so that you don't see the breaking apart of a relationship as the breaking apart of your wholeness. You have wholeness already. You just have to perceive it and recognize it. And then what you can do underneath in that part of your workbook is you can look for, how would I like to empower myself to express this quality more in my life, okay? So look for instances, for example, of where you've already expressed this quality. So let's say, again, it's intelligence. Okay, who in my life has seen me be very intelligent in different areas, in my career, with my finances, in my relationships. Okay, and where have I seen myself be really intelligent with these different things? And can you own it yourself first? And then look for, how can I express this trait more? Because it's obviously something that I'm missing, that I'm believing I'm missing, and I'm yearning for. So how can I integrate the expression of this more in myself? Maybe I want to express my intelligence more and have deeper intellectual conversations with more people around me. Okay, that's going to be an action step. Maybe I want to make people laugh more and express my sense of humor a little bit more often. Okay, who am I going to do that with first? Make these things actionable steps, okay? And then the last question there, I want you to practice exercising your ability to see that you're capable of doing this. And what you're going to do is write out 10 reasons you are capable of expressing this quality as well. So, how is it possible that I can be intelligent? Well, I read books all the time, I educate myself, I learn online, and you can put all these things out that show, hey, I'm completely capable of owning my intelligence and expressing it, of owning my creativity and expressing it, owning my sense of humor and expressing it. So write out all these different things so that you're integrating these traits and your subconscious doesn't have to perceive this disconnect and this hole, okay? And this is a very important thing you can do. Now, I'm going to add in one other piece here in terms of shadow. And I talk about some of this a lot in our shadow work course, but I also want you to recognize that we have a relationship shadow. Besides our golden shadow, we have a relationship shadow as a whole. And a relationship shadow is that we all have a tendency to date certain patterns in people. Okay, so a lot of people have, they've gone through a string of people who fear commitment, a string of people who can be dismissive at times, a string of people who, are over conflicting and always want to fight everything through and talk everything out and tear it to shreds. And so people have different patterns that they bring in, and all of these patterns are telling you really important things about yourself in terms of your own shadow. So a really cool process that you can go through, just on a side note here, is make a list of any patterns or habits you keep reattracting in your life through other people. Anything that you notice, right? You might find that it's not succinct the entire time, but there are definitely sort of pockets of patterns that you recognize. And then what I want you to do is ask yourself, what qualities are these mirroring to me in the way I treat myself in relationships? And what you'll see is that there are very powerful parallels. So for example, if you find that you're always dating people who are dismissive, where are you dismissive of yourself? Where are you dismissive of your own feelings, your own needs, your truth, and the things that you want to say, your boundaries, okay? So just notice what patterns you keep bringing into your life and what this says about the way you show up in relationship to yourself. And this is an important part in terms of just taking the next step in our healing so that we don't keep bringing painful sort of parts into our patterns going forward. So in the last part of this module, I'm just going to give you some tips for some really practical things you can do in terms of moving ahead, creating healthier habits in your life, and moving through that last practical piece of healing a breakup. So take the time, please, for these 4 major components and really dive into these exercises. Really do this work, because you will feel in real time like you're healing that void within you. So exercise 5, part 1 here is all about the golden shadow. And the purpose of this exercise is to recognize the traits we think we are missing and bring our own personality back into a state of wholeness. So in the steps below, you're going to write the qualities or characteristics you admired about your ex. These can also be the qualities that you were attracted to in them, or that you felt you were not empowering within yourself. These are basically the traits your brain attaches to at the subconscious level, as we mentioned in the course, that creates that sense of wholeness. So if you start by writing, okay, what were the traits I admired or I was attracted to? Maybe you say they were, you can write a list. You could say grounded, calm, structured, organized, made me feel safe, made me feel seen. Okay? So you can sort of touch on these different qualities or parts And then what you're going to do is you're going to look for, okay, where do I have these qualities within myself? You may also find things, like some really typical things you might find are they were smart, they were funny, humorous, right? And you're basically going to write out these different things. And the idea here is to look at where you have these traits within yourself. See, a lot of times what happens is we attach to traits in another person, not realizing we actually have those qualities or traits within ourselves, but just in different or hidden forms. So what you're really taking a look at here is, okay, what are those different or hidden forms? So we're going to look at the different areas of life. Let's say number one, you look in career. Okay, where are you grounded and calm? Or where are you structured and organized? You might say, oh, you know what? This person is that way in life, but when I really look, I am structured and organized when it comes to work projects. I am calm under pressure at work. Maybe you're saying, I am grounded when in meetings and offering advice to others. So you're looking to see so that your subconscious doesn't perceive such a big void. Oh my gosh, I lost all these traits that were making me whole. You're actually coming to take ownership that, hey, I have those traits too, and I just haven't been recognizing them. Okay, so then let's look at another area. And you would do this for all of them. Like you could see if there's anything where you feel, you make yourself feel safe or protected. You see your intelligence, your humor. Maybe you make your coworkers laugh. Maybe you have really intelligent feedback to add. Maybe you're extremely intelligent in a creative way, in a human behavior way. There's lots of things you can sort of find from here. So you're looking in career. Then you're going to look at number two, and let's say, okay, let's work at the relationship area of life. Okay, you can do them in order that I've listed literally right here, or you can just write out things that you want to start with. Okay, in relationships, where am I smart? Where am I funny? Where am I humorous? Where do I make other people feel seen? Okay, and so you might say, I am a funny friend. Maybe you say, I am very smart at knowing how to show up and be a good friend. I am a grounded and reliable friend. Okay, so you're just basically going through and you're seeing where you have these same traits that you are attaching to in the other person. Then in this area, you're doing the same thing, but you're looking to see from other people's point of view. So beyond just your own point of view. Where do you have friends or family members or colleagues or even a potential new romantic partner who see you as those traits mentioned above? Okay, so maybe you find in my career, my colleagues think I am smart. My friends think I am intelligent and ask me for advice. My parents recognize my creative intelligence. Okay, so whatever it might be, like you're just going through and you can list off who else in your life sees you under those in that sort of same lens or under that same umbrella as you're originally seeing that person, right, that you were so attached to. And again, it helps to create that equilibration of a void at a subconscious level. So you would repeat it for the same traits that you are attaching to in that original person, okay? And you're really creating a sense of wholeness. Then what you want to do is you want to write what traits this person brought out in you or brought into your life, okay? So maybe you say, they brought fun into my life. Oops. A sense of relaxation. I stopped putting so much pressure on myself. Okay, so you're just going to write out different traits. You can put as many as you can possibly think of that come to mind, like from your whole relationship. Take your time with it. Really find out, okay, what traits really showed up here for me. And then you're going to look for, okay, how can I express these traits more in my life overall? How can I show up for these traits more often? And so you might say here, I will set aside one night per week to do something really fun. I will set aside one full day per week to relax with friends and family. What else did we say? Putting pressure on myself. I will be more accepting and understanding of myself in my internal dialogue. Okay, so you're just creating strategies here to make sure that these things that are suddenly missing from being with this person, and then that person not being in your life at this time in the same way. Okay, well, how can I make sure that I get these needs met in the relationship to myself? What are some strategies, or how can I get these needs met with other people in my life currently? And then just to build the belief here, to see that it's possible, we're going to write 10 reasons you are capable of expressing these traits more on a daily basis. And you can write like the reasons you believe in yourself to harvest these traits, because this helps to build that belief in yourself and to see as well, okay, I can get through this breakup, I can stand strong, and I can bring into my life these things that I may be afraid are missing. So you're just going to take a long look here. You might say, I am capable of setting aside time for fun because I know how to have fun when I choose to. I have a lot of fun with certain friends and family, and all I have to do is spend some time intentionally creating this for myself. Okay, so you're just putting like together, and again, you'll list like 1 to 10, for each major trait, especially just focus on the traits that you are afraid that you may not be able to express. So if you find yourself stuck on something like, oh, but what if I can't have fun, or what if I can't assert myself, or can't have boundaries? Okay, put the reasons for that so you're building the belief in the idea that you absolutely can. Okay, really important stuff. So that's it for this exercise. The idea here is to take ownership of those traits, come back to an equilibrium and a greater sense of wholeness. Now, what you'll see in this part of the exercise is just a little summary here for you. Okay, so this is just, if you decide that the traits are a big part of the breakup, oh my goodness, I really, really held on to these traits in this person, and they are not, I'm so afraid they're going to be missing from my life. Really, what you want to do is just summarize on this one pager, exactly what we reviewed above, just so you can you can print this off, you can put it on your bedside table. So if you're like, okay, the traits I was attracted to, let's say another one was they were assertive and confident, okay? And then you're gonna look, and you're just gonna be summarizing exactly what you wrote above. I am confident at work, and if I'm confident there, I can be confident in any other area, okay? And maybe you put a couple other things where I have these same traits in different relationships. I'm confident around my best friend. Okay, so you're putting these different things. Where others in my life have these same qualities, who else represents these things that they can bring into my life? So it's not just up to me to fill the voids by myself, but I actually have support in doing so. I have a cousin who is very assertive and confident, and I can spend more time with them. You're just you're really seeing, okay, where are these things still available to me in different forms? You can print this off, put this beside your bed, and remind yourself of these things as you really work to do this trait integration work and nurture it into yourself through repetition so that it actually programs and reaches your subconscious mind. So this is our fifth major reason why breakups hurt. And it's not as major as the other four. So this is sort of the practical side, okay? These are the things that showed up in your life on a day-to-day basis in terms of your habits, your lifestyle that you're now having to change or disrupt. Now, change and disruption is uncomfortable for everybody. Why? Because our subconscious mind is very oriented towards survival, which means it likes to keep patterns that it knows are keeping it surviving and alive. So naturally, we perceive any type of change as a threat. Now, to a certain degree, we can also have a really strong desire for novelty, change. Some of us can really like change. And even if we do, and even if that's a fundamental part of our personality, there is, no matter what, a deeper subconscious part that is still to a certain degree in resistance to change, especially at a more major level when it comes to things like losing major people in your life and breaking apart relationships. So this is going to hurt people differently depending on what stage of a relationship the breakup takes place in. So if you remember earlier in the course, we talked about, for example, like the change or disruption in a relationship in the commitment or stability phase or bliss phase, if it ever does happen, where people are maybe living together, maybe you have a family, marriage, kids together. It's going to be harder, obviously, there than it will in terms of like if you're just in the dating stage and you have a breakup, because probably your lifestyles haven't conglomerated too much and sort of coalesced where both of you have changed and like adapted to each other so much. So obviously the more change that takes place or the more disruption, the more challenging it's going to be. So here's an exercise you can do to move through this part. Okay, what I want you to do is write out all of the parts of your lifestyle that you're not looking forward to changing. Okay, and get really clear on those parts. Is it that we had a morning routine, my partner and I? Is it that, they used to help me and they would pick up the kids from school certain days and I really needed that? Is it that, we planned ahead and we had our finances organized together and now I have to sort of change my financial plans and maybe my living situation even? I want you to make a list of all of those things that you don't like. And what I want you to do is in the column next to it, write how you can take something away or create something that's even better. Because even if you don't have this like exact same style of life because of a breakup, if you have something in your mind that's a long-term vision that you're moving towards and knowing that you can create something that still sort of gets those needs met in your life, but can still basically can become more productive long-term, your brain will rest because your brain gets its needs met in the present moment, in its memories of the past, or in its visions of the future, in its projected future. So even if you're like, you know what, I can be in a space where yes, there's a discomfort because we're gonna have to move homes, but I'm gonna choose to have a home that's just my own. I'm gonna decorate the way that I want to. I'm going to enjoy sort of creating this sanctuary around myself in a way that just suits me. I don't have to take anybody else into consideration. If you can perceive it that way and position it that way in your mind, your brain, instead of just suffering over the negative past, has something to look forward to, and just doing that will create relief. So go through and get really clear. What are all the disruptions to my life that are taking place right now? And how can I tweak these or reposition them in a way that even if it's not possible in the very short term, in the long term, I have a goal or a vision that I want to move towards that further empowers me, even a step ahead in my lifestyle and how I'm living, okay? And if there are things that you need just in terms of support, like maybe your partner was picking up the kids after school and you're trying to figure out what you can do there. Maybe you just reach out to others. Maybe you ask your parents to help out and you can work on developing more closeness in the relationship with your parents, being more grateful, talking to them more often, relying on them for support, working out old pain points. Like, see what you can take away from the changes instead of just what the changes are taking away from you. And by doing that, you're in charge of this disruption in your lifestyle instead of feeling like you're the victim of it. And this is extremely important. And this is how we really take change and we make it into something amazing instead of, again, just feeling disrupted or victimized by change. So this is the last like really practical piece that you can go through. I also recommend just on a regular basis to set up some healthy habits. I have a suggestion point at the bottom of your workbook on the very last pages, and it's all about different strategies that you can integrate into your life regarding healthy habits. Journaling, meditation, self-connection, they're all sort of laid out before you there. And what you can do is just pick one or two things you can commit to in your life to keep building and maintaining that relationship to self and paying attention to your self-care rituals essentially, so that the practical disruption of life, you also have something to help compensate for just in terms of how you show up for yourself during this entire process. So I hope this has been useful. Please go through and do the work here. It's extremely valuable if you do the work, you commit to it, you dedicate to it, you keep coming back, refining the process, and this is how you're partnering with yourself while you're going through a breakup with somebody else. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in future courses. So exercise 6 here is all about creating new habits. So the purpose of this exercise is to consciously empower transformation. The goal is to be able to pinpoint where you are resisting change due to the disruption a breakup can cause, and then intentionally create a new habit. So just follow the steps below here, and you're going to fill out habits that you can create for your new life. Okay, so let's say, for example, you go, okay, oh my gosh, I have to now move into my own place. I was used to the habit of living in a certain place and having the certain routine and way of traveling to work. And so, how can I replace this with something even better? So instead of getting stuck on the things we're losing, we're taking the initiative and we're saying, okay, we're going to transform these potential losses into gains. We're going to make them into something greater, better. We're going to be intentional about creating a new chapter or season for ourselves that we really fall in love with. So, example, okay, I'm going to make my home a sanctuary, design it with all my preferences, and feel safe and conflict-free there. Okay, so maybe you say as well, I was used to spending time with my partner in the evening. And now, okay, how can I replace this with something even better? I can reconnect with old friends. I can really dive into the relationship with myself and learn to love myself more. I can reconnect to different hobbies I've enjoyed and try new ones. I can spend more time focusing on growing in my career. I can empower my relationship to God if you're religious or spiritual. I can eventually find someone to date who I don't argue with so much, right? Because a lot of people who break up are going through some arguments and fighting the tail on the rocks. Okay, great. You have a future ahead that could be even brighter. So you're just putting a few things here, and you can do this for each of the things that you're afraid that you might be missing. And this really will create this direction, this momentum, help you move in a different direction. We're going to continue some of these healthy habits with exercise 7 here. And this exercise is really just a whole bunch of support. And you can sort of review as we go through this together. It's a whole bunch of different support systems and structures that I recommend. And from all of these different recommendations, what I want you to be able to do is pull out of here what you really see yourself doing and know you can commit to on a daily basis, so you really nurture the relationship with yourself and empower yourself to feel like you have healthy, intentional habits on a daily basis. So how you spend your days is how you spend your life. And if we don't have proper habits of self-care and self-connection to produce clarity and stability, your subconscious mind will try to cling to comfort and security through pleasure-seeking behaviors a lot of the time. And this obviously doesn't fulfill or create optimal fulfillment for your life. So here's just a set of different recommendations. So we can start the day by doing meditation, visualization of how we want our day to go, or perhaps some reprogramming visualization. We can set intentions for our day, do some auto-suggestion or other reprogramming skills or techniques. We can do some self-reflection questions. And in each of these pieces here, you'll see that I have different recommendations. And what I want you to do is go through these and really decide, okay, from these prompts, from these explanations, what do I want to do and how can I see myself structuring a routine around this? Okay, so we have different beliefs we can focus on. We have different intentions in terms of prompts we can set for the day, different visualization techniques and ideas for visualizations, different explanations of meditation. And then this is really important post-breakup, is taking the time here to go through different self-reflection questions. So this can be something we do in the morning or the evening, and we can pick 2 to 5 a day and just reflect on ourselves, really build that relationship to ourselves, get to know ourselves so we can come to really love ourselves. And we can answer some of these questions, become a little more introspective, build out that relationship, and really powerful things come out on the other side. And, to sort of finalize all these different recommendations here, you can use the emotional processing tools here, just these sort of different questions we can ask ourselves to help process some of our feelings through the day. We can use these questions and journal about them in the evening. So what I really want you to do is, from these different pieces here, all these different recommendations for healthy habits, I want you to take some time and decide what you can see yourself sticking to. And, ideally you pick a little bit of all of these, but remember, you can say, I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes per day instead of the recommended 20 minutes, and you are entitled to do that. And then I'm going to visualize for 5 minutes, and then I'm not going to set an intention, but I am going to do the reprogramming, or, I'm going to do meditation and self-reflection questions and just start there. So take sort of the ingredients here that you can see yourself doing, committing to, feeling inspired about, read through the different recommendations, and then take some time to set, okay, this is what I'll do in the morning, and this is what I'll do in the evening, and set those intentions for yourself to carry those out, and you will see major transformation take place in your life as you get to know yourself further. And at the back here, all we have is our different support systems, just in terms of extra resources and tools and materials for traits, for needs, for core beliefs. And that's it for the workbook for today. So I hope your healing of the breakup is coming along very well. And I am very much looking forward to seeing you in the next courses.